Today I'm going to tell you about the recent developments happening in the Turkish politics. You know that Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan is making the biggest gamble of his career to save his political skin, just as popular opinion even in traditionalist conservative strongholds swings sharply against him. Now his goal, he wants to bring the large Kurdish minority into his side by ending Turkey's most intractable political and military conflict that has killed some 40,000 people over 4 decades and has brutally scarred national life. Now he wants to give in a place in Turkish politics to Abdullah Öcalan, the jail leader of the outlawed Kurdish party, the PKK, an organization which has been long proscribed by the Ankara, the US and the EU as a terrorist organization. Now, for many feel that it is a sign of Erdogan's plummeting fortune that he is even contemplating such a radical step to keep his grip over the NATO heavyweight of 85 million people. But the Islamist populace knows that it is his moment to consolidate his power as the president for life or risk being wiped off the political scene. You know, he has suffered crushing defeats at the hands of the secular opposition in the municipal elections of 2024, and those most significantly in the conservative bastions. Now he has made an increasingly desperate lurch towards full authoritarianism. Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, he has been thrown in jail, and the security services have launched a nationwide crackdown to arrest opposition mayors. The allies who support Erdogan on his side to power have largely deserted him. While the need for a new support base helps explain Erdogan's Kurdish Gambit, it's a high-risk move while no guarantee of success. You know, mainstream Turkish opinion is wary of the PKK, and the Kurds themselves, they are extremely nervous about trusting the Turkish authorities because they feel alienated, and they are also feeling that nothing is being discussed related to their language and cultural rights. Also, after the message which was surfaced on the internet by the jail leader Abdullah Öcalan, he is still in the jail. He has not been released, so people are not sure whether they are going to trust the Turkish authorities. So this deal is far from an easy sell. While publicly proclaiming the importance of terror-free Turkey project for reconciliation with the Kurds, Erdogan is also showing that he is wide awake to the risks. He has conceded his project faces sabotage from within Turkey and from within the ranks of the PKK. Sensing some of the potential hostility to his PKK deal, in an address to Parliament on Wednesday, that he was careful to preempt any attacks from political adversaries that an accord could dishonor veterans or other casualties of the conflict. He says that nowhere in the efforts for a terror-free Turkey is there, nor can there be, a step that will tarnish the memory of martyrs or injure the spirits. He continues that, God willing, we are saving Turkey from a half-century long calamity and completely removing this bloody shackle that has been placed upon our country. The jailed Öcalan, speaking in his first video since '99, said on Wednesday that the PKK movement and its previous quest for a separate Kurdish nation-state were now at an end, as its core demand, the recognition of Kurdish existence, has been met. Existence has been recognized, and therefore the primary objective has been achieved. In this sense, it is outdated. This is a voluntary transition from phase of armed struggle to the phase of democratic politics and law. This is not a loss, but should be seen as a historic achievement, he said in his video. So we know that no issue in Turkish politics is more bitter than the Kurdish conflict. Some Kurds describe themselves as the most numerous stateless people in the world. There are millions in neighboring Iraq, Iran and Syria, and in Turkey they account for approximately 15 to 20% of the population. Many Kurds say they have been denied their rights in the formation of the Turkish Republic just over a century ago and have long been oppressed. In turn, many Turks see the PKK, which long waged war against the Turkish state, as a terrorist group, and its leader Öcalan, who has been confined to a prison island all this century, as a murderer. Given the explosive range of feelings about Öcalan, it is remarkable that such a personality will prove so central to securing Erdogan's deal. You know, he is known as Apo. He's serving a life sentence for treason and separatism on the island of Imrali in the Sea of Marmara. Notorious in part due to the movie Midnight Express, Imrali is referred to as Turkey's Alcatraz and has held Öcalan for several years as its sole inmate since 1999. He is no longer alone. During the peace process between 2013 and 2015, a number of PKK prisoners were transferred to Imrali to serve as part of Öcalan's unofficial secretariat. While the Kurdish policy of Erdogan and his AK party has oscillated between crackdowns and conciliation during their 22 years in power, Turkey's hardline nationalists have long denounced the PKK as a threat and had little time for Kurdish rights. Perhaps the most outspoken enemy of Öcalan has been a veteran politician called Devlet Bahçeli, an ultra-nationalist leader who is now Erdogan's main ally, helping him pad out his parliamentary majority. In 2007, Bahçeli had even called for Öcalan to be executed. 10 years ago, he lashed out at Erdogan over one of his sporadic attempts to negotiate with the PKK. But last October, in one of the sudden shakeups that intermittently convulsed politics in Turkey, Bajoli suggested Öcalan could address parliament as long as he dissolved the PKK. The significance of the volte-face can hardly be overstated. It was almost as if Benjamin Netanyahu had extended an invitation to Hamas, and behind it all was Erdogan. The effect was dramatic. On February 27, Öcalan sent a public message from his prison calling for the PKK to give up its arms and terminate itself. Öcalan credited both Bajoli's call and Erdogan's willpower for helping create an environment for the group to disarm. He said in a statement, I take on the historical responsibility of this call, he added. Convene your Congress and make a decision. All groups must lay down their arms and PKK must dissolve itself, he added. The PKK Congress duly declared the end of the armed struggle on May 12, adding the group had fulfilled its historical mission and that as Öcalan had instructed, all activities conducted under the PKK name have therefore been concluded. The statement was welcomed in Ankara, but so far the gambit by Bahçeli and Erdogan has yet to fully pay off. There is clearly more work to do, and sure enough, after the watershed statement from Öcalan in February, the prisoner gained more staff on Emrali. According to politicians from the pro-Kurdish DEM party who spoke to Politico, 3 more prisoners were sent to expand the team available for striking a grand bargain. Nurcan Baysal, a Kurdish human rights campaigner and author of the book We Exist, Being Kurdish in Turkey, said many Kurds remain wary of the government. The government is presenting this as a terror-free Turkey and is trying to limit it to just the PKK laying down its weapons and dissolving itself. This is not peace. Basil said Öcalan's declaration in February to dissolve the PKK was also met with disappointment among Kurds because he didn't say anything about the Kurds' cultural, linguistic, administrative rights and freedoms. Öcalan flanked by masked officers on a flight from Kenya to Turkey in 1999. He said that this is not the slightest enthusiasm about the process. A serious reason for this is that the Kurds do not trust Erdogan's AK party government. This mutual mistrust is partially the legacy of the failed initiatives of the past and the fact that Erdogan's deal comes amid a major clampdown on opposition. Epik Ozbey, a political commentator for the secularist channel, reckoned the Turkish government apparent moves towards a Kurdish rapprochement were neither sincere nor promising. We cannot talk about democracy and government when elected officials are in prison and the independence of the judiciary is so much under discussion, she said. If there is no democracy, how will we democratize? During the reporting of this article, several government-allied figures also made clear their unease with Erdogan's Kurdish initiative, describing the issue as explosive or signaling their own lack of belief in the process, but declined to talk on the record. From the government camp, Harun Arman, the AK party's vice chair of foreign affairs, conceded that Turkish public opinion remained cautious about the PKK deal, but cast Erdogan is the only man who could pull it off. 10 years later, they have realized how gravely mistaken that was. Aman continued, whether the PKK will truly disarm and dismantle itself is something we will see together. Recep Tayyip Erdoğan is the only leader in Turkey who could initiate such a process. Now, Erdogan has already served 3 terms as a president. To remain in office, he may need to change the constitution. The only promise made by the government is to completely rid Turkey of terrorism and to build a future in which all 85 million citizens can live in peace, prosperity, and freedom to the fullest. Erdogan is indeed widely seen as the engineer of the Kurdish rapprochement when his regional diplomacy is also enjoying success. He has been hailed by the US President Donald Trump as the main winner from the fall of Bashar al-Assad in Syria, where the new government has strong ties to Ankara. Erdogan is trying to take advantage of his clout by severing ties between Syrian Kurdish groups and PKK.